Okay, so 3.3, rotate about 90, 180, 270, and 360 of the origin. We are not going to do any points other than the origin. Okay, if you ever need to do that, you wouldn't remember how to do it anyway, so you'd have to relearn it. So we're just going to do the origin. It's pretty basic. A rotation of x degrees around point P. So it's a lowercase r for rotation, and that is a subscript of x degrees, so it would be r 90 degrees, and then O for guess what? Origin. Okay. So, it was a transformation that rotates each point in the pre-image about a point P called the center of rotation. By an angle measure of x degrees called the, so difficult, angle of rotation. So the point is called the center of rotation. The angle is called the angle of rotation. If you look at the picture, we're going from the black to the red. How do I know that?
I mean, there's a little arrow.
Well, there's a little arrow, but there's also prime, yes? Okay, so what do you notice about this distance here and this distance here? What do you notice about them? The blue? Here and here. They're the same because they have a line, right? Okay, so that's what everything's going to change. So a rotation is a rigid motion. So what? What and what are what? We've had rigid motion. You've had the definition of rigid motion 3 times now, right? So if it's a rigid motion, so blank and blank are blank. Length
and angle measure.
Okay, so length and angle measure. Could you say angle measure and length? But the line's longer for the angle measure, right? Are what? Kept, or what's the fancy word they use? Preserved, which means kept. I'm making you guys fill in more of those words, aren't I?
Yeah.
Okay, note that a rotation is a counterclockwise. I didn't point it out on the other picture, but it is a counterclockwise rotation for it to be a positive angle. And the reason for that is I will give you a diagram and show you why. So if I have an x-axis and I have a y-axis, when I draw an angle, every angle starts on the positive x-axis, and then what you're seeing is the image and the pre-image, because you take that pre-image and move it to here. And didn't the arm rise? Did it rise? So that's why it's a positive rotation going counterclockwise, because it's rising. So this is positive angle, and this would be a negative angle because it's falling. That's why that is. Okay, so let's get the rules. We have over there for a reflection, when we reflected across the x-axis, the y went negative. When we reflect across the x-axis, the x went negative, yes? And when we reflect across y equals x, they switch places. So you're going to get the same kind of rule here. So if I rotate 90 degrees around, what's O stand for again? Origin. Okay. X, Y. So I'm going from the black to the red. It is negative Y, X. So you interchange the X and the Y. Yes? And make the Y negative or positive, just opposite sign. Okay? So 180 degrees this way. So rotate 180 degrees about the origin of XY is negative X, negative Y. Now look at that point, because this point right here is 1, 2, yes?
Mm-hmm.
And wouldn't this point be negative 1, negative 2? And I guess I didn't show you on this one. This was 1, 2. And when I rotate it, I got negative 2, 1. Okay. So now 270 degrees. So all the way here. So this is 1, 2. And what's this point down here?
2, negative 1.
2, negative 1. So what happened? I got 1, 2, and 2, negative 1. What happened to my point? Did they switch places again?
Yes.
Yes, like the 90, they switched places, but which one went negative this time?
X.
The X. So it's Y, comma, negative X. Now, the beginning slide said 90, 180, 270, 360. Why didn't I put 360 on there?
So it just went all the way back to
360 would be back to the original, correct? Okay. Today I want you, if it usually gives you one thing and says do all of them, so add 360 to that, because you do need to remember that. So do it a couple times today.
So it would just be the same as the
Mm-hmm.
first one.
Yeah, R of 360 about the origin of X, Y would just be X, Y. It will just be, because 360 should put it right back where it started from. Everyone got it?
1, 2.
So let's get some examples done.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to do 90, 180, 270, 360. So we probably should write the points for each one, huh? So what is a
3, 5.
3, 5?
Yep.
Anybody not agree, you better holler. What's B?
1, 7.
And C?
Negative 2, 4.
And D.
Negative,
No, positive.
positive 2, and negative 1.
So 2, negative 1?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to find all the points. We're going to rotate 90 degrees. So what I want you to do on your paper is you write I, 90, comma, origin. And what's the rule? What's the rule I gave you? Bless you.
Negative y x.
Negative y, x. So you're going to interchange places and change the sign on the y, right? So what is a prime?
3, 5.
Negative
Negative 5.
5,
3.
3. Interchange, make the y negative.
You have to flip them.
Yep, because it says yx. B prime,
Negative 7, 1.
negative 7, 1. C prime,
Negative 4, 2.
negative 4,
Negative 2.
negative 2. Only the sign of the y changes. D prime,
Positive 1, 2.
positive 1, 2. Did we do that too fast? Okay. So rotate 180 degrees about the origin. So what's my rule? Negative x, negative y. I'm not switching places, am I? So then a prime is
Negative 3
-3,
and 5.
-5. B prime, -1, -7. Were you doing from the last one? Yeah. You got to come clear up to the top. Yep. Okay, C prime,
-4, 2.
2, -4.
Yeah, no, I switched around on that.
Okay. I was waiting for you to.
No, I switched
D
around.
prime?
-2.
-2, 1. Now, can you add this in your composition of transformations? Yeah. Okay, so you could do like a translation, then you could do a rotation, or you could do a reflection and rotation, or, you could. So, you want to try the next one on your own? What's the rule for 270?
Y negative x.
Y negative x. So, try it. And then you all should be able to do 360. That's the hardest one. How'd it go? You're not done with the 270 yet?
I got done with the 270. It's just I'm
Oh.
with the 360.
360 are just the same, right?
I know.
Okay. So there's another example. Same thing, isn't it? You guys want to do it real quick? Make sure we got it right? We'll do start to finish on your own. There's no picture this time. Does that mean anything? No. There's only 3 points this time. That's awesome. How much of a head start do you need? Write your rules so you remember it. Because it'll be much easier to remember it than have to keep looking for it. I do. So I get from not writing them right above where I'm working them up. How'd it go? Good? So as long as you know how to read the rule, are you good to go? Should you highlight those rules? Yeah. Because when you get your test, you're going to have reflections, rotations, translations. So you're going to have those things you have to remember. So how do I do rotation? How do I write it? Lowercase r, right? What's a capital R? Reflection. What's a capital T? Translation. Okay? Questions?